Welcome to the Advice to My Younger Self podcast series, where we explore the real-life lessons and personal stories behind Jeff Fleischman's book, Advice to My Younger Self, available now on Amazon.
Today we're diving into Chapter 3 of Jeff Fleischman's book, Advice to My Younger Self. It's got a great title. Listen attentively before speaking. Listen with the intent to understand. Now, if you haven't come across Jeff's work before, he's got something like 35 years of experience leading marketing, brand stuff, digital transformation, big Fortune 500 companies. And he really uses this book as a way to mentor sharing these career insights and stories, stuff that can help professionals really at any stage. This chapter, though, it digs into something we think we're good at, but maybe aren't always practicing fully, listening.
It's so true. I mean, in this world we live in, everything's so noisy, right?
Oh.
So actually listening with real intent, it almost feels like a superpower. Our mission today is to unpack Jeff's wisdom here. We want to show you why listening isn't just passively hearing words. It's about understanding the intent behind them. And, how getting good at this can genuinely change your interactions, both at work and, well, everywhere else. What sort of jumps out at you first as we get started?
Well, right off the bat, Jeff hits us with this quote from Doug Larson. It really frames it perfectly. Wisdom is the reward you get for a lifetime of listening when you'd have preferred to talk. And he immediately points out this, super common mistake we make. Thinking, hearing, and listening are basically the same. And honestly, who hasn't been there, just kind of waiting for a gap to jump in?
Oh, absolutely. And that distinction, it's so critical. Hearing, well, that's just physics, isn't it? Your ears pick up sound. But listening, that's different. That's a conscious thing. It's an active process of receiving what someone's saying, then interpreting it, and really understanding the meaning. Like you said, you might be able to repeat the words back, sure, but do you get the message underneath, the feeling, the real intent? Jeff argues pretty convincingly, I think, that if you don't get that difference, effective communication it doesn't happen. Yeah. We end up talking past each other.
Right.
Just pushing our own view without really hearing the other side. It's a fundamental breakdown, really.
Yeah, that really clicks with the story Jeff tells, a personal one about this leader he worked with who had this verbal barrage style, he calls it. It just put the whole team on edge, defensive, people shut down. But then a colleague gave him this amazing piece of advice: learn how to separate what was actually said from how it was delivered.
Yes. And that's such a powerful mental shift, isn't it? It lets you get past the tone. Maybe it's frustration, maybe it's urgency, whatever, and actually focus on the substance.
Yeah.
Stops you from just jumping to conclusions or taking it personally. What I find really insightful is how honest Jeff is. He says, look, early in his career, he was the one eager to talk, to make his point, not really focused on listening. And he found out pretty quick that, underdeveloped listening skills, they were going to hold him back. It's not innate. It's something you have to acquire. It takes real conscious effort to get good at it.
Okay, so knowing it's a skill we need to build, Jeff then gives some really practical, concrete tactics for actually getting better. Things like, cutting out distractions, really watching for nonverbal cues, expressions, body language, paying attention to tone, asking those probing questions to really understand, spending less time thinking about your amazing reply and more time just taking it in. And that classic technique, repeating back what you think you heard just to make sure you're on the same page. What stands out to you in that list?
For me, it's really the emphasis on being intentional. It's easy to just nod along, right? But Jeff's saying, no, you need to be truly present. And when you are, the payoff is huge. If you connect that to the bigger picture, he basically says listening is the absolute bedrock of strong communication. I mean, think about it. How do you get consensus? How do you resolve conflict effectively? How do you engage people if you haven't truly listened? It hits everything. Individual performance, team performance. It changes interactions from a battle of opinions to actually solving problems together.
And he builds on that, right? He offers specific ways to handle listening in those trickier spots, like when people have really conflicting views. He advises staying objective, even if the views seem worlds apart, and trying hard to understand the logic behind where the other person is coming from. Focus on the facts, he says, not just the opinions. That stops things from turning into, an emotional argument. And a really key piece of advice, how you frame your response. Make it non-accusatory. It's not about scoring points. It's about finding common ground.
Which brings up a really important point. How do we actually set and align expectations properly? Jeff's advice there is to be super clear, really explicit about actions, deliverables, all that. And this is crucial to summarize what you've agreed on. Maybe follow up with an email. Just lock it down so there's no room for misinterpretation later. He also talks about something interesting, aligning semantics. Sometimes you think you disagree, but it's actually just the way things are being said, not the core idea. He encourages trying to understand the other person's motivations. And even, get this, sort of mimicking their logic or their body language a bit when you reply. The idea isn't to be fake, but to frame your thoughts in a way that clicks with their way of thinking. It shows you get their viewpoint, and it kind of lowers their resistance to hearing yours, makes them feel more understood. Actually quite a smart technique for building rapport.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And the last tactic Jeff brings up is knowing the right time to actually jump in and engage. He's really big on encouraging others to get their full perspective out first. And interruptions, almost always a bad idea, counterproductive. He reminds us, keep asking questions until you're sure you understand, close those gaps, respond to things as they come up, and always make sure your own communication is, clear, concise, hits the key points.
What's really powerful, I think, is how Jeff keeps tying listening back to leadership. It's not just a nice-to-have communication skill. He's basically saying it's maybe the most vital part of communication, and it's critical through your whole career. It actually gets more important as you move into senior roles, right?
Yeah.
Because leaders have to be the ones resolving disagreements before they blow up. And the good news, it's never too late to work on this skill. You can always get better.
So wrapping this up, what's the big takeaway? Jeff Fleischman's message seems crystal clear. Make it a real, conscious priority to listen, not just to hear, but with the genuine intent to understand.
It's a shift, isn't it? From just waiting for your turn to actually absorbing what's being offered.
Exactly. And he shares that anonymous quote, which just nails it. Courage is what it takes to stand up and speak. It's also what it takes to sit down and listen. It takes both.
So here's something to think about. How might intentionally focusing on listening for understanding, not just lining up your reply, how might that change your next difficult conversation? What new possibilities, maybe what new connections could open up if you approach it that way?
We really hope this deep dive has given you maybe a fresh look at just how powerful listening can be. Join us next time. We'll be diving into the next chapter of Jeff Fleischman's Advice to My Younger Self.
Thank you for joining us for the Advice to My Younger Self podcast. If you find this podcast helpful, you can purchase Advice to My Younger Self on Amazon. You can also visit us at www.advicetomyyoungerselfbook.com. There you will find book chapter podcasts and other useful information to help you navigate your career.